Hello everyone, this is Axis here. Well, I finally got to see the season finale of Legend of Korra, titled Skeletons in the Closet and Endgame, which is respectively episode 11 and 12. And I must admit, it was an okay finale. I was impressed during somewhat in the end, but like, I wasn't totally so excited that I was jumping up and down my seat until the end, but all I can say to you is that it was interesting to watch, but I also saw a bit of Uber Hikari's review where he calls the ending whack sauce, and to be honest with you, I think he has a valid point. There is a lot of Dukes Ex Machinas in this episode, and it's not as even fulfilling as the season 1 finale of the original Avatar. Like, there's something missing. Like, there is something cool, there's a very good battle sequences, and there is, I guess, good origin moment of Amon, but I don't completely get the whole idea concerning to make the stratagems that is necessary to conclude the series. Like, I know that the creators only wanted Legend of Korra to be 2 seasons. Now, if you want a show to have 2 seasons, then you shouldn't tackle something this big as a non-bender revolution. In fact, I had a conversation with Uber Hikari, and we both agreed, and mostly he said something that I totally agreed with, is that having too many characters and having such a massive plot line, trying to miniaturize it into 10 or 12 episodes is never a good idea. It's something, I don't know. It's like writing a short story form of something that is an epic saga. Like, you wouldn't completely, though I wouldn't um, compare this to a major classic, but just imagine if, I know most people saw Beowulf the movie. Now just imagine if Beowulf, the entire thing, even the recent animated movie, was just miniaturized into 20 minutes. That would not make sense. You have Grendel, you have Beowulf's transformation to a normal warrior into a king and his psychological prowess and everything like that. You need to take the time to transform all the elements that's happening, to show what's being plotted out, to completely understand the character. Now, I completely agree with Uber Hikari. There has been a lot of character development in a way with Korra, but like, there has been no character development with other characters. Uh, there was with Ling Beifong and Mako, and even a bit with Asami, but there wasn't complete character development with other characters. Now, of course, I understand that in a series, some characters will remain static. There was also some static characters in the original series, but that's the problem. Those characters came and went with a certain flow. You understood that they were gonna come in this certain timeline and they were gonna fulfill these functions and go away. But with Legend of Korra, there's always an opportunity for those characters to, like, do more things, to combine efforts, to conceive more outlets, and you don't see that. Now, what I really did not like about the finale is that they miniaturized even the essence of the entire show. The essence of the entire show was a non-bender revolution. And what did they do? They kind of gave the impression that, okay, exposing someone would obviously take away the advantage that they had. But I really don't get why they did that. It was a total Deus Ex Machina. It was a total plot bunny, uh, what can I say? Escapist plot bunny? I don't exactly know what to call it. I won't lie, some part of even that was crucial and important, and I'll get to that, but I just felt it was totally irrelevant to do that. The only time I think I was cheering on the people were at the end. Nor else, I mean, I won't lie, I was pretty psyched to see the finale, and there were many moments that did get me a bit like excited, but not so excited like, like I was watching the last time, I think the last Avatar series. Like, it was okay. There was no major fighting involved, and to be honest with you, Korra acted really not like herself, and there was a lot of things that I guess could have been revised. First of all, I motion Uber Hikari's analysis. It was partially wax sauce. I know that a lot of people loved the ending, but it was until the end. I mean, the end made at least a bit of sense. But then again, even that could be pointed out and analyzed and criticized, because like what I liked about the old series is that the Avatar needed his friends. There was a lot of opportunities and a lot of things that they did together. But in this series, it's like the Avatar is a one show at times, where it's not like, they have this problem that they don't know how to coordinate the Avatar. When she needs her friends, she's it seems like she doesn't need them. And when she doesn't need them, it seems that she needs her friends. So it's like obviously very horribly coordinated. Like, what I loved about the original series was that Katara, Zuko, Suki, Sokka, they all had opportunities to help the Avatar when the Avatar couldn't do it by himself. But over here, it's like it's different. Like, a lot of people may disagree with me and say that no, Mako, Asami, they also help out, they also do. But yes, they do, but at certain times it seems that when Korra can fight by herself and do things by herself, it's not really happening. No, I will give it to that because the last fight was with a water bending blood bender, and it wasn't like that during the last season finale, like last series finale, not season, sorry. I can understand that there will be complications that are faced with Korra that is not faced with Aang. Uh, but I'm like thinking, okay, but still there's like something in this finale seemed amiss. And it's not only me. You get the feeling when you're watching it and when you criticize the show, or when you want to show its strong points and its weak points, it just comes up. Like, even when I saw a bit of Uber Hikari's criticism, only a bit, his criticisms or analysis are pretty long. I myself was feeling connected with that entire feeling of, what shall I say, wax sauce syndrome? Yeah, I was feeling that a bit, because I was like, alright, there was a big battle, but frontal assault was a bit limited, and all that things. Now, I know, I'm sorry, I'm going around a bit and criticizing the show, but I'll tell you the strong points now, and then I'll go to the gradual weak points, and I think that is important. First of all, what I liked about the finale, let's start with Skeletons in the Closet. Of course, we should start chronologically. I like the fact that in Skeletons in the Closet, they actually showed the microcosm slum underneath the pipelines, and they showed that how non-benders and benders, like how the homeless, ironically the people who are supposed to have nothing, they're the people who get along. And this actually is a very good depiction of life in general, because what we feel that we can't get along with certain people, that whatever the reasons are, we feel that they're different from us. But it's the people who really don't have anything at all, like the homeless people, who show us that they can communicate communicate, cooperate, and coexist with one another. Now, that was a very realistic notion because that really does happen in real life. We see a lot of people living together in different places where we find like living together a totally inconceivable, but they make it conceivable. And it was nice to see that the whole homeless people was helping Korra out, Mako and everybody, and now they're on reconnaissance mission. And of course, there was a bit tension over there with Asami still being mad at Mako. That was also slightly realistic too. That though there are some horrible things going on, sometimes humans do that. Humans have flaws. There are other emotions that are not even appropriate for a certain time sometimes come up. But then again, I would want Asami to bar that a bit. Uvar Hikari was right about that because, like, there's a more urgent situation. But then again, it is human to sometimes feel, what can I say, minor emotions even. Like, a lot of people will say that is a major emotion. Like, at the moment, it is a minor emotion. And to feel that during a major event. I like the fact that I like the battle on the sea with the United Nations Army and the Equalists. That was a very good part of the battle because it showed that the Equalists have plotted out a lot of things, and like they have shown a lot of progress, and they are actually one step ahead. Like, they know, they're intercepting, they're collecting information, they're making sure that their ranks are filled and everything like that, and that they do not get surprised, but they initiate the surprise, which is actually a very good thing to do, because nor else you wouldn't feel like you're fighting an enemy that is difficult to fight. You would feel like you're fighting an enemy with loopholes. So it was nice to see that the Equalist army did beat the first army by the United Nations. I also understand why they would feel that they were expecting a counterattack, but they were not expecting a counterattack like that. So obviously, I like this certain sense of surprise by the Equalists that that they have always found out how to stay one step forward. That is an extremely important initiative to take, and also something that was very challenging for both Korra and also General Iroh. And I have to admit, it was nice to see General Iroh as a very promising firebender and was able to fight all those airplanes. But yeah, well, those parts were okay. Now, the main bulk of Skeletons in the Closet, as the title implied, is that they wanted to show the origin story of Amon. Amon is, ironically, Tarlok's brother, Neotok. Now, this is where everything, I think, somewhat went downhill, because, like, it was nice to see that there is a good origin story with Tarlok, and there is a connection actually with Tarlok and Amon is actually Neotok, Tarlok's older brother, and that, you know, they're both Yakon's son, and that it wasn't actually what I would have liked that didn't happen, but what I did not expect happened. But to some extent, I will give that a bit of credit because both of them were waterbenders and both of them were bloodbenders. So it kind of makes sense now, as everybody figured out, that Neotok or Amon is able to take away people's bending away because he does something with blood bending. Of course, it makes a lot of sense, you know, like bending is a very physical and also mental thing, but it also has a very very big connection with the physical side of it too, and he manipulates the physical side with his blood bending. He probably closes a channel, kind of reminds me from Sylar from Heroes, but like I understand this thing. It would be kind of hard, I guess. It would be a harder story to come up with if he was a non-bender. But this is also something I seriously felt was a Deus Ex Machina. Why does Amon have to be a bender? Like, he's a bender, and they tried to show that he was always a person who wanted equality, and that Tarlok was, the funny thing was that Tarlok does get a reprieve, that he was always a nice person, but because of his father's upbringing, he does fall a bit on his father's side of things, but he was actually the more nicer one amongst the two. That I was okay with. Like, that made somewhat sense. We are influenced by a lot of people in our life, especially our parents, and though Tarlok was initially very nice, and in fact in sight, like, in depthfully, he is actually very nice, in the sense that he is a person who fights for justice, looks out for people's well-being. But the Tarlok that we met, the councilman, has become a lot like his father. He'd become manipulative and become very aggressive in a negative sort of way. And we noticed that it's because of what, not only his father's actions, but his brother leaving and his mother and everybody changing all of a sudden, that really did do a lot of damage to his perception and the perception of things around him. But till his adolescence, he was always a person who really was the softer, or not even softer, the more wiser in many ways than his brother, and also a person who was very empathetic even to animals. So he's not psychopathic, he's not really bad, but like, his antagonistic nature comes from the fact that his brother and father and all these familial ties, and that's also very realistic. You do see a lot of that happening in real life, so obviously I did not completely mind that. But yes, one of the major things that will be a bother to a lot of people is that Amon turned out to be a bender. Neotalk is a bender. Now, this is very problematic. He wants equality in the world, but he himself is a bender. He's taking away other people's bending powers. This kind of proves this really big question at the end. Okay, when you take away everyone's bending away, and we see that in Skeletons in the Closet, that he is equalizing people and all that shit. Sorry for the slang, but who will then take away your bending? That's a question that I really wanted to ask. That if you're the only one who knows how to blood bend these people out of their bending skills, then in the end, when you're the only bender who's left, let us say this, who's going to take away your bending? It will not be an equal society with you staying as a bender. You'll be the only one who will be there to, bend and all that stuff. And this is when Neotalk's entire movement falls under a horrible fallacy. You say to your father while you were blending him, and this is during the flashback, that blood bending is not the most powerful thing in the world. The most powerful thing in the world is being able to energy bend or take away another person's bending. But so you want to be a leader like that. You want to have the power of taking other people's bending away. This is another thing that really undermines the entire series' philosophy. Nobody questioned Amon how he got this. Nobody questioned how he got this from spirits. Nobody questioned if it could be it's a transferable skill. If a non-bender, presumably a non-bender can do it, can other people do it as well? It's like, it's really problematic. I feel it's very problematic. I feel that these loose ends are very destructive to the entire philosophy of the show. You have Neotalk, a bender, who now goes by the alias Amon, and he is manipulating the non-benders. Everything that he said, as we found out, is a lie. His family is not attacked by firebenders. He himself is a waterbender from the Northern Tribe. As I said before in one of my videos, the Northern Tribe waterbenders are usually susceptible to antagonistic activities. I don't know why, but it's usually there from the first show. But what I didn't understand is that why did they go with this route? Like, I know that it's easier to conceive of this route, that they would then be able to explain why Amon is able to blood bend people's powers away and stuff like that, but it's also a very risky move, and they took it, and now it has all these loose ends, and it's really problematic. So that's the end of Skeletons in the Closet. That's what we found out so far. And then, of course, we go to episode 12, which is Endgame. Now, in Endgame, the battle is full throttle. You get to see General Io intercepting planes, trying to fight them because somehow Hirosato got to know of his wire to General Bumi, who was the second general of the United Nations Army, and he's also ironically, or of course, whatever, he's like Councilman Tenzin's brother. Maybe his older brother, because I heard from somewhere, I read from somewhere that Tenzin is the youngest child of Aang and Katara, so he's probably his older brother. And we get to see Tenzin's brother at the end. He's just as wild and wacky as Bumi, which is fun, I won't lie, that was a fun part. And Tenzin going like, oh great, now I have to make arrangements for my brother, or entertain his brother, which obviously is a bit of a chore. But we get to see that Hirosato, and I think one of the most pivotal points of this show at that moment is Asami fighting with her father. She cannot really get through to her father that his hatred is negating the feelings of responsibility or whatever feelings he's having towards the death of her mother. The death of his wife cannot be resolved by the cleansing or whatnot you want to call it of benders that the equalists are trying to do. It won't bring her mother back. It won't really make her mother proud. It's obviously a venture that is hurting innocent benders and non-benders in every single way. But like, of course, her father doesn't want to see this logic. He thinks that Asami is ungrateful and that Asami's fighting and all that stuff is non-consequential and to the actual scheme of things. So they fight. And yeah, Bolin helps a bit, and they call Hirosato a horrible father. That was actually an emotional moment. That Hirosato was acting like a horrible father, but I guess I understand his reasons as well. Both daughter and father are disrupted. Their relationship is disrupted by different ideologies, and that is actually very realistic, both in a minor and a major sense. So I think that was a very meaningful battle because Asami didn't want to hurt her father, but at the same time, her father didn't completely want to hurt her, but they had to fight, and well, I'm glad that Asami won. In the arena, we get to see Korra's plan in motion. She wants to expose Amon as he is, and okay, that is a different strategy, that is good. Instead of physical force, you want to use mental force, you want to use truth, which is a very good thing. That truth does triumph over any sort of falsehood, and we have this in real life. It may seem like a very simple, outdated construct, but it's a very truthful construct. I mean, ironically, it is a very useful and also a very effective construct. I said ironic because I say truthful construct, but yeah, it is a very positive and also a very effective construct, and it's actually true that truth does triumph over falsehood. The world, veracity usually triumphs over falsehood, even if veracity seems to be losing and a losing end for many years. It's usually falsehood that always gives out in the end. And you see that in not only basic stories, but very complicated stories as well. You see that in shows like, and movies like The Matrix. You see that also in shows like, I forgot some names, but Matrix is a good example, a sci-fi example, but that's an example. And I think some other shows, like most shows, which has epic battles like this. Even when when I was referencing Beowulf, even Beowulf has the same construct, and that's a classic epic comparatively to Matrix, which is maybe a very old movie but very recent compared to Beowulf. And then you also have other movies oh, all right. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting some movies' names at the moment. Uh, but like I gave a recent example and an old example. So she wants to use that. Of course, doing that is also problematic considering the fact that Amon has uh, infiltrated this logic and has put paint on himself to make someone see that his face is burned. So when he opens his mask, everybody thinks that Avatar is lying and that it becomes problematic. Of course, now Amon is able to fight using his actual powers, and he uses a lot of blood bending. This is like a blood bending frenzy, and he is able to subdue the Avatar and take away her bending. At this point, his lieutenant comes along and sees this and realizes the Avatar has been telling the truth all this time, and he goes ballistic on his lieutenant as well. I felt really bad for the guy because he seemed really into the entire revolution and he was a very strong character. And suddenly now he finds out what? His boss is a bender, so he's been listening to a hypocrite all this time. And, well, he takes care of the lieutenant. And then Mako and his heroics, I have to give Mako this. He was able to lightning bend when Amon is trying to take away his bending and get out with Korra. But of course, Amon really gets him back. And, well, he really viciously, in his subtle way, says that it's really bad that I want to take away someone's bending as talented as yours. It almost felt bad, almost. And you can understand how vicious he's being. But then Korra, in all the light of all of this, and I think someone else said this, that during the last it was another reviewer, I forgot who it is, but he said during the last there could be a time where Amon will somehow activate Korra's airbending. And that's exactly what happens, ironically. Because Mako is in trouble of losing his bending, and Amon is going to take away his bending. Finally, Korra does be able to airbend. And that's how she also, because of airbending's tactics and everything, she's able to also stop or at least counterattack Amon doing the blood bending, which also makes it pretty cool and everything like that. So basically, yeah, you have that. Korra kicks Amon, or Nyatuk as he's called, out of the arena into the water, and every non-bender over there looks at looks at Korra and Mako, and are there being very aggressive. They're thinking that, oh look, it's the Avatar. Look, she hurt Amon and everything like that. Until Nyatuk does his own undoing. He waterbends out in a panic. He waterbends out of the water, and then everybody gets to see that the Avatar was telling the truth, and that Nyatuk, aka Amon, is actually a bender, and that he has been manipulating their feelings all this time. So basically that's the end of Amon there. He goes back to Air Temple Island. He goes back to where Tarlok is being held, because the original plan in Skeletons in the Closet was to ambush Amon there. But of course that's where our heroes get to see Tarlok and talk to him and get the origin story out. So this time Tarlok and Amon decide to go away together. Now this was also a very pivotal point. I felt really bad for Tarlok, because Tarlok in this way had character development more than any other of the council people or anybody like that, because it showed a lot about what Tarlok had been mentally going through. He became a lot like his father without knowing it until he got captured by his own older brother. And I felt really bad when they were going away on that boat, and when Tarlok decides to make the boat explode because he realizes that both of them have been, I guess, he thinks that both of them has been tainted by their father. But I would have wanted Tarlok just to capture Amon and go back to Republic City. I think that as Tarlok had such a reprieve and was able to realize what his actions had done, he would still be very important in the council. I really did feel Tarlok, like I really felt bad for Tarlok in this episode, because after all this time he didn't want to stay in his father's shadow. He didn't want to become like his brother, but in the end of the day he became like them, and he decided to take himself and his brother out. We are not sure if they're totally dead or not, but there was a very big implication that Tarlok was doing that, for probably for the betterment of everybody. But I really felt bad for Tarlok. Like, it was a waste. Like, I wish he didn't do that. But I think of the entire series, the person I felt bad for the most was Tarlok. Like, I know, right? Like, we've all been thinking that he's such a negative character. He's so manipulative. He's making Korra and everybody, like, pushing them into a corner, making them do things that they don't want to do. But at the end of the day, he is the one that we can mostly, I think, sympathize with and empathize with, because we've probably been in that situation where we don't want to do things, but we accidentally, without knowing, we do certain things, and then when we realize what we have done, when that realization, when that has come to us, we feel totally helpless about what to do next. Tarlok felt that Niatak was not going to change, and Niatak thought that if he had Tarlok on his side, he would probably be able to regroup or do something about his situation. Well, it was the end for Amon, and it was the end for Tarlok as well, as we're made to believe it is. And he's the person that I most felt bad for, and because he was such a promising youth, and if he acted more responsibly, he would be one of the few councilmen who actually showed a lot of initiative, like Tenzin. So I felt really bad for him. At the end, Katara comes and whoop-de-doo, what do you know? She can't really fix Korra's bending. Though Korra is able to airbend, she's not able to do other bendings that she knew before airbending. Of course, this makes Korra really upset, and she decides to run away, and Mako kind of confesses to her at that moment that he loves her, which is such a surprise, isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm being sarcastic, but it was obviously there from the very beginning that Mako really loved Korra more. I mean, I know Asami is really hot and everything, and she's really pretty, and what I also loved about this episode is that Asami really took a lot of initiative, and she fought a lot. I mean, we also see that in episode 10, Turning the Tide, but I really like to see that her fighting her father, it was emotional, but like, I must admit that she really changed her outlook for me. Like, I wish that they gave her more time to build build her principles, because she's going against her father, and that's a very big thing, and she's going against her father for a very big reason. So I wish they would show more of her principles and things like that. But alright, going back to the ending, Mako confesses, Korra's not ready for it. She runs off. She goes to near a cliff. Very dramatic. This is the first time when Korra starts crying that I understand her pain and actually think, yeah, you wouldn't be human if you're crying. She feels that she's no longer the avatar, which also makes a lot of sense. Being the avatar means you have a great deal of responsibility for the world around you, and now that you can't bend, water bend, fire bend, and earth bend, of course, your roles as avatar is incomplete. And then so who comes along? Anne comes along. Kyoshi comes along, Roku comes along, all those previous avatars comes along, and Aang, and this got me really excited, I won't lie. Aang reverses Korra's blood bending. Like, he does a reverse energy bend. And Korra finally gets back all her bending, and she also learns the secret of energy bending. This is what is shown. I won't lie, that part was kind of cool, and it's cool that she, as Aang said, she's finally able to go to her avatar state and get her spiritual side. But yes, it was also, no matter how cool it may seem when you're visually seeing it, when you reflect on it later, that's also a Deus Ex Machina. I know that you might think I'm contradicting myself. I'm not. I actually do like it. I like the fact that she got her bending back. But what I didn't like about it is that there is a huge gulf still present in the philosophy that they were introducing in the show. I expected that Korra wouldn't be able to bend at all, and that would make her understand why people were so eager to join Amon, despite his hypocrisy, despite whatever. They really were geared towards his philosophy as an equalist, and I thought Korra will be able to embrace that feeling. That actually is a big responsibility in itself for an avatar. But she quickly gets back all her bending, and then she kisses Mako, who she also confesses that she loves him too. And yeah, that was sweet for me because there was a romantic tension in the series, but yeah, it wasn't. I mean, as Uber Hikari said, it was very rapid pacing, so we don't feel the entire gravity of the romantic tension, or even more importantly, the entire philosophy introduced in the show. Alright. So this is the main problem of the show. It leaves a lot of loose ends. It has this problem. Now we don't know what the second series is about. As I said, I would like to see if the second season, not series, sorry, is about this equalist movement still at large or something like that. It has all the potential of being a good show, but by minimizing and like condensing all these important philosophies, it's horrible, you know? I mean, it's horrible to do that to a show that has so much zeal and potential. I really did not understand this. I I seriously did not understand why the producers and the writers of the show had to do that. Oh yeah, I just opened another YouTube channel, and the person I think who said about that airbending coming back and everything like that was the reviewer. I think his name is Sawyer Seven Mage. Yeah, Sawyer Seven Mage was the one who said that, and guess what? His theory was right, that after all her bending goes away, it was air bending that didn't go away. So in one way, that did make sense, that as she could not air bend, it was a good ingredient. But then again, the other things were not functioning well. So yeah, there is this problem in the series that they tackled something really big, but they can't really flow with it as organically and as strongly as the last series, Fire Nation Colonization Project. I mean, they can't really do that. I wish that the next season that's coming out is longer. I know it's 14 episodes, but I hope they continue the series with a book 3 and a book 4, and they strengthen the entire concept that they introduced. That these are the only redeeming qualities I think Legend of Korra has. And I think that they should do it. And well, these are basically what I thought about the entire show. I'm happy finally Mako confessed to Korra. I'm happy she got back her bending, but yeah, there were all these little nitty-gritty things that did make sense. Now you've got different characters, and they said in the next season we'll have a different antagonist. I felt really bad for Tarlok, and of course I did also feel bad for Amon. But yeah, that's the thing, that there's always these nitty-gritty things, as I was saying, that makes a series either fall down or go up. Uber Hikari gave a 2 thumbs down to the finale. I won't be like that. I won't give it 2 thumbs down, but I will say that he had very good reasons to give it a 2 thumbs down. I think that it could have been way better as well. I'm happy I got to see it, but I wanted it to be better, and it had more action or something, because I remember the last series finale was a 4-part finale or something like this, as I found out from, I think, Wikipedia or something, because I did see it, but it was a long time ago, and I didn't see it, I think, simultaneously as all the 4 episodes, the 4-part finale. But yeah, I do think that it could be more better. The series needs to change its looks, change the fact that it introduced this very big philosophy in the series, but doesn't want to take responsibility for it. Like, it's like it's really, you give birth to this brain child, but you don't want to nourish it, you don't want to make it grow. It's like, yeah, it's all about, gardening the plot. You don't want to do anything like that. So I think that's a very big disappointment. uh, Legend of Korra needs to improve. Other than that, I really love the settings, I love the architecture, I love Korra as a character. But yes, it needs to improve. It needs to strengthen the philosophies that it has introduced. It needs to probably continue with the non-bender bender dispute in the second season to show that there is a continuity, there is something there. Well, these are my thoughts for the series season 1 as a whole, in a way, and also the season finale. I would really like to know what you guys think. And I would want to know why you liked it or why you didn't like it, or why you think if you also think that my views are wrong, at least show me reason for that. Or if you think my views are right and also you share the same views, please tell me about that as well. Well, that's all I have to say about the season finale and Legend of Korra. Despite all these things, I won't lie, I am psyched to see what they're gonna do in the next season, because I want to see, will they improve on it? Won't they? What they have next plan? Will that plan be better than this? But even so, I wish that they would continue with the philosophies of this first season. So I do want to see the second season of Legend of Korra. I do want to see what they do. Like, right, like, I want to see what you guys are thinking as well. Well, Max is out.